introduction at this time, and I can continue. Okay, as I have already chosen the topic religion, and initially I have said that certain rights have been guaranteed, religious right has been guaranteed, and which are also enshrined in the third part of Indian constitutions in the form of fundamental rights, and accordingly we have right to profess, propagate, and practice religion, and there is also right to convert. That proselytization right is there, which is also mostly debated concept. But when we are talking about the religion, there are also other concepts which are aligned to it, and we often discuss those issues. Like we have communalism, which has created a lot of animosities in the society, a lot of hatred in the society, and due to which we also see that. Um, there are a lot of human rights violence because of this animosity, because of this hatred between these communities, and because of this parochial sentiment among one communities against another communities has created a lot of has resulted a lot of violence in the society, and that we can interpret from the human rights angle. The right to life, liberty has been at stake because of this communalism. And here there are some understanding of this concept called communalism, because most of the time we misinterpret what communalism is all about. And this understanding of this concept communalism is very, very important for you, because if you are if you are a good Muslim and you want to die as a good Muslim, is not something which is communalism, right? At the same time, if you want to practice your religion and you want to live a life uh, the way you have inherited from your parents, so it's not something related to communalism, right? So communalism also not rise above the public accountability of superior Hindus and majoritarian Hindus, and it is not a right, an overriding right of the Hindu community that they can hurt and harm the sensibilities of minority communities, religious communities in India. Right. So most of the time, it is communalism has also been taken as a, like you say, um, business enterprise of business enterprises by those leaders, in the community. And whenever there is a dwindling in the fund they used to collect from the society, you get to see that they cry in favor of religion. So that is the situation, as we could see, and there are a lot of animosities. We get to find a lot of hatred in the communities because of this communal feelings. But you see, the idea of communalism, the way we interpret, is completely different from the idea of communalism in Western perspective. So West has viewed communalism is some essential right of the members of the community to form groups and in a loosely bounded federations, and they also view that right to own a property, essential right of the community to own a property, and having and that parochial interest also for that particular community. So that is defined as a communalism by West. But in India, we actually see that it has actually resulted, that parochial feelings has resulted lot of violence. And even that parochial feelings has resulted in creation of separate state and also succession and demand for the succession, demand for creation of a separate state. So you also might have heard about the Khalistan, right? Demand for Khalistan, if you have come across by Akali Dal, right? You know about
Yes.
this? Okay. So see that is the trend here in India, and we cannot ignore this particular trend when you look at communalism. And communalism is also a part of agitation, protest or terrorism. As I have told you, that we try to look at separately communalism, then you have hesitation, then you have protest. Okay, in the society, it is ultimately related to human rights violation. It is related to human rights violation because it has resulted that violation of your human rights. And you have right to protest, no doubt. You have right to protest, and that is also a part of hesitation. So in hesitations, you try to mobilize mass support. And in communalism also, you try to mobilize a mass support. But you see, your target of attack is, in hesitation, your target of attack is basically the group which is in power. But here in communalism, your target of attack is another group, another community. But in terrorism, is usually the target of attack is government, right? So basically, you say communalism, you try to change the social order instead of political order, and in hesitations, you actually try to change this social political order, and in terrorism also, you try to change and overthrow a regime or change that regime. So you can actually see this variation in different concept, and also what we see that there is a it is also related to leadership issues. So when you talk about the leadership is very predictable in terms of insurgency and terrorism. And when you are talking about this violence, communal violence, leadership is also unpredictable. You cannot find a definite leadership. And aftermath violence, you get to find that intensity of that you say animosity and heightened sense of animosity of one particular community against another particular community, and it is not essentially preceded aftermath the violence or aftermath these communal riots, but you get to see that uh, in terms of terrorism or your hesitations, some different kind of atmosphere we get to see. There is an overthrow of regime at times, and there is a change of social order, and also there is a situation of peace which usually avail after such incidents. So hence we can see that this is something which is essentially important to find out what are the factors of communalism, and you may have to report sometimes different kind of human rights violation that may also related to communalism. And you see, when it is related to religious aspect, because most of the people try to confuse uh, religion with spiritualism, and also religion with secularism, right, or communalism. So religion has its own distinct place in the society, in contrast to communalism. As you could see that religion is something which refers to the belief of, you say, the superior order of existence that is beyond our mundane life or beyond our earthly existence, and your belief in a supreme being. That is what can be associated with religion. But when you are talking about, you say, communalism, and that refers to that animosity between the communities and parochial sentiment and extreme sense of affiliation and belongingness to particular community and to particular issue. That's how we can define it, right? But it is also different from, you see, superstitions and all this kind of prejudices. So most of the time, we used to confuse superstitions with, like, religions. So superstitions is completely different, as it actually denotes to our deep reverence for women's and miracles, magic, and charms. And we tend to submit your logic and your reason, and in front of your fear or ignorance. Okay, so you take decisions based on your ignorance or your fear for some supernatural elements. So here you have got to see some kind of, you see, differentiation between these two concepts. But what to start first, religion. So religion and, you say, secularism, and then we will try to find out the relation between um, religion and different kind of, you say, prejudices that is also available in the society. And at times, what has lead to, like, curb our human rights. So you could actually see the problem that has lead to curb our human rights when there is extreme sense of, like, superstitions and prejudices available in the society, like exorcism, witch hunting. So that has actually violated our right to liberty and right to life. And some instruments have also come up, uh, like in 2015, we have Assam government has passed a law, 2015, 15th of August, 13th of August 2015, passed a law, anti-superstition, anti-superstitious bill have been passed, and according to that bill proposes severe punishment to all this kind of superstitious activities, uh, which actually lead to take the life of a person. Uh, and you see, uh, it also proposes a severe punishment like life imprisonment and 3 years to life imprisonment based on this intensity and scale of crime. And you see that to certain extent it is also curb, uh, able to curb the kind of superstitions which is available in society. And different state government has passed different laws to curb superstitions in the society. Now you see, you should not confuse religion with that prejudices, superstitious prejudices of the society. And communalism is a completely different concept altogether, which is neither a philosophy nor an ideology. But when you are talking about secularism, India is a secular state. It is an ideology. It is a philosophy. It is a principle, right? It is a principle based on the notion that state and religion should be separated. State and religion shouldn't be mixed, right? Uh, and that is for the uh, unity and integrity of the nations. And in a secular state, we are provided with this right to religions and right to practice, propagate religions to people belonging to all faith, okay, without any discrimination. And you see that in different period of time in India also you get to find this movement which actually call for creating a bond between the communities. You talk about, you can actually witness this Bhakti movement, then the Sufi movement, Bhakti movement from Hindu cult, Sufi movement from Muslim cult has created amity between these two communities and try to harmonize two communities in the society. So that we should not forget. And also you see that composite culture of India has been highlighted by Asoka's 12 rocket edict, and it is also highlighted in the religion of Din Ilahi Sulhi Kul of Akbar. Right, so that was also history which we could not ignore. But at the same time, we could see that there are some separatist element which has tried to create tension in the society, and those separatist element are aggravated by different social, administrative, political, economic, historical, legal, and local factors. And you can see that most of the time we try to even indicate politicians who by dint of their policies and the way they have pursued certain policies tend to create turmoil in the society so that they can fish in this troubled water. Um, and like there is an appeasement policy of Congress, because most of the time, all of you know, because it has been targeted, they appease one particular community. And also regarding this affiliation, if you look at this community affiliation, you can find the variations, and political parties try to work, uh, work on those differences, and work on those different identities, different ascriptive identities, and try to take the benefit out of those different ascriptive identities in the society. And hence, this is one factor when political and communal card, that communal card has been adopted by political party in order to create animosity in the society. And when they have used religion for uh, political purpose, they mix religion with politics. And you see, in society also there are some you see this polarity existed. That is, that polarity is essentially based on our ascriptive identities. Polarity is based on caste. Polarity is based on creed. Then polarity is based on language, you see. And this separatist tendencies has also been aggravated by religious sentiment. It can further be aggravated by religious sentiment, and that becomes one factor to create communalism even in society. And I can also give example of even caste association. Right, so there is also politicization of caste that will come later on, but as we are discussing on religion and religion related violence in the society, and religion and politics. Hence, we need to know certain factors which has aggravated tension in the society, and communal tension in the society, aggravated animosities between communities in the society. And then you see that there are also administrative factors that has actually say and, that has intensified this tension between the communities. And when there is not uh, adept police officials are not trained, not well equipped, and inept in terms of dealing with any kind of riot. That has also lead to intensify the situations. Not only that, you could also see that there is no understanding, lack of understanding between this administration and even police. That's and even the intelligentsia has also complicate the situation further. Right. At the same time, people are not aware about free legal aid. So that is very, very important. So people do not understand the existent laws and legislations which are available, and how to make use of those instruments which are available if they feel their right is being violated, right to live peacefully in that community, right to live with dignity in the one particular community, then right to job, uh, right to development, uh, and also right to profess, propagate religion uh, belonging to one particular community. So they actually need to know about, need to be aware laws and legislation which are available in the society. And you also see history has been one factor that has actually aggravated the situation, because the way history has been interpreted by different communities uh, further intensified that communal feelings. You know, there are some you say magazines like Akali Patrika is there, and then Subat Organizer. These are some like newspaper and magazines. The way they interpret uh, the habitation pattern between two communities has also intensified um, that tension in the society. The way they glorify, like Ghajni, and you say Kutubuddin, and also call one community like kafir as, or also you say criticize someone for like having that lineage to one particular community, and that has created a kind of animosity that has actually intensified that like communitarian tension, that tension in the society. So that you cannot ignore the role of media in aggravating this tension in the community, which cannot be ignored. And also, most of the time, you see the kind of slogan rallies which are carried out by political parties, even some communal organization, has intensified the communal tension in a society. Right. So things are pretty complicated here. It's not that easy. And when you are talking about like certain practices in the society, and we often confuse different practices in the society, even in the family, as like religious practices, like you see practices related to some practice have been there, and we consider it at like uh, it is mandatory to do, and if we don't do, if we don't carry out those practices, might like bring bad luck to us. And if we don't carry out those practices, it might also like harm the family members, right? So those practices are also termed as superstition. So that is something different part altogether from communalism. So religion and communalism, secularism, these are certain concepts which are quite important. And you see that the way uh, we look at nationalism and patriotism, uh, it has also got certain like communal tendencies, because India has a different variety of nationalism altogether, and it is often been questioned whether India is a nation or a state, right? Uh, or Indian Union. So you see that when we are talking about nationalism, that is also said that parochial sentiment regarding the language, regarding that common literature, common tradition, common culture is there. But that what has bound us together and creates a feeling of commonality among us. But when you were talking about patriotism, patriotism is basically the love for your own nation and love for your own land. And we get to find that feelings of patriotism in Gandhi, right? But communalism is a parochial sentiment. It's a parochial sentiment, extreme sense of love and affiliation to particular issues, be it political, social, economic issues. And you try to uh, create a polarity in the society based on your perspective towards that issue. And also the way communities are living, the habitation pattern has also aggravated that interpretation of particular issue, because that issue they look at it from uh, their own communal interest. They relate any issues from their own communal interest, and at the same time, you see that everything has been restricted to that narrow concept of special rights. So here we are not talking about general right. So here we get to see there is a focus on special right. Even when we are talking about this the feelings of animosity between Hindu and Muslim. So Muslims always focus on that special rights rather than basic right that they are supposed to enjoy, right? And hence that has created a feeling of entrancement, feeling of vulnerability among them, and that is more acute just because of the focus they put on the special right provisions. So they themselves treat as a minority in India, in the state of India. Right, and also we look at this issue from different angle. But before that, I would like to take questions from your end if you have. Yeah, any questions? Yeah, any questions? Are you there, Chandan,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Pooja? Yeah, are you there? Yeah. Is there any question?
No, ma'am, I don't have any question.
Okay. Sifar, you don't have any question? You usually have a question.
No, ma'am, I don't have any question as of now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Uh, anything you want to ask? There are different kind of practices in the society. Like, for pregnant women also, there are different kind of practices. Pregnant women is not supposed to eat papaya during pregnancy, and they are advised to eat lot of ghees during pregnancy. And there is a belief that consuming ghees during pregnancy will ease their delivery, and also consuming papaya, as papaya is hot in nature, will lead to abortion of fetus. So uh, these are also some kind of belief and practices which are deeply rooted in the society. And you see uh, and that regarding this belief, perhaps in your house also. So it is advised that not to open an umbrella inside the house. So this is a kind of practice we usually do. Not to open umbrella inside the house will bring bad luck, or whenever you move out for and heading towards any important work, and you are fed with honey, with dahi and sugar, right? Curd and sugar. So these kind of practices are available in the society, and right.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
all these things come under superstition, right?
Actually, you see, we tend to trail it we tend to call it as superstitious factors only. These are superstitions only, as there is no scientific evidence. Although some sadhus, sant, and even astrologers try to say that there is try to relate it with some logic or some reason. Suppose if you plaster the floor with cow dung that will also disinfect the floor and make the floor cool. And also, this is sad that if you open umbrella inside the house, this may also lead to break any fragile item inside the house. And that's how you can apply some logic. But this is basically how you look at that issue. And it might give you some satisfaction also. Let me tell you now that when you're talking about spiritualism, and spiritualism is something different from religion, and it is not wrong to be religious. And many a time it is said that the way people of one faith exercise their right, people of one faith exercise their right, they have every right to exercise, that right to religion, propagate, preach, but at the same time, they should not harm and hurt the sensibilities and sentiment of other communities. The way they exercise their rights should not hurt and harm the sensibilities of other communities, right? Uh, and hence, we often see that most of the time, now you have even we have started giving lot of emphasis to sadhus and even all those spiritual gurus. We have started taking them as an inspiration, or their quote, motivational quote, we usually follow. And they have also trying to, they have started putting concentration on this religious issue, and more than religious, on these issues like nationalism. Okay, so their role is to make our life better, joyful, and it is for those who actually seek joys from their life. So they will make the life of those people happier, and who are in trouble, or who actually seek solution to certain problem. They can actually go to those spiritual gurus and get some happy life. But they're also trying to pull from their domain to a domain of, you say, it's public sphere. They are giving advice into different practices so we do in our daily life. And you see, they have offered some regions regarding, even I have seen Sadhguru has provided a region regarding not to sleep facing your head towards north. Okay, so and people are actually glued to that kind of advice, and people follow him. So so you see, if you provide a logic and reason, to certain extent, it will satisfy your urge to do certain practices. But I would say that there is no harm, according to practice certain existing norms in the society, but that should be based on logic and reason. If you say that this is what the rest of its explanation is false, then it. And you also see religious society, and where we have a lot of certain, but I'm not telling you go practice superstitions and you don't even follow the law of nature, because there are superstitions, but to your I'm not audible. I'm audible or not? I do not have any problem.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking a lot. Like we couldn't hear anything that you just said.
Like, uh, cannot be your fundamental right. So this is the issue. Stop here again. I'll switch it off and I'll join.